It's a pleasure to welcome to the podcast Giuliana Portolesi, goalie for Onondaga. Giuliana, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I always like to start the podcast by hearing the story of the first time you jumped into goal. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I played at a high school in Sacramento, California, and we were practicing in the fall. It was just open practices, and so we just got to choose whatever we wanted to do, pretty much. So I was playing a little bit of defense, and I kept getting called a shooting space, trying to get in front of that ball. So my coach, after the second day, kind of pulled the trigger for us and made me get my gear on, and haven't looked back since.
There you go. You were so used to occupying the shooting space. You're like, I'm going to be the goalie who can live in the shooting space. Very cool. So you jump into goal. Sacramento, California. Interesting. So I'm from California myself, and lacrosse scene's definitely growing, but not a hotbed. Let's put it that way. So how did you go about then learning how to make saves? Not yet. Exactly.
Yeah. So my coach, his name's Stu Burkowski. Shout out to him. He's a New York guy. So we would work before, after practice on weekends, trying to teach me the foundation. So I'm super lucky to get the fundamentals right away. And then, so I moved to Washington after my junior year, and if there's not a lot of lacrosse in California, there's even less in Washington. So a lot of your podcast, your videos, a lot of watching film and trying to figure it out. So
cool. Washington, the state of Washington.
State of Washington.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Cool. So was he a goalie? Your coach, was he a goalie? Like, how did he know all the technique and the basics?
Yeah. So he coached his daughters. He coached his daughter to be a goalie, and he coached a ton of great goalies. SDSU, Katrina. I forgot her last name, but the backup Denver goalie. Like, he just is experienced with a lot of high notch goalies. So
got it. Yeah.
He's a fan of the game, so he just studied it, and
awesome.
Super knowledgeable guy.
Yeah. What kind of things, a lot of youth goalies listen to this podcast. When you think back to your, just getting going, what were some of the initial challenges that you faced as a lacrosse goalie?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing, you just have to see shots that are like super high quality. And being in Washington, we're all learning the sport. We're trying to figure out how to cradle, how to catch, how to throw. So maybe you don't see the shots that maybe you see here on the East Coast. So just perfecting the technique is the best thing you can do, that I did, with the resources that I had.
Yeah. And one thing you can do, always, like, if you're a youth, like, usually if there's not a lot of great lacrosse in the area, the older kids can shoot a little bit better, right? So, if you're 12 years old and you can find like a high school freshman or sophomore who to come shoot on you, that's a great option, right?
Yeah. The pool is pretty small in Washington, though. Actually, my team in Spokane, we would play 3 teams, and one of them was in Idaho. So
yeah. But what about like the universities? Does like the University of Washington, what else is up there?
Yeah.
Washington State.
So we're in Spokane, and that's on the east side of Washington.
Okay.
So the west side, where Seattle and all that is, there's better lacrosse over there.
I gotcha.
But on the east side, it's pretty small. And Washington, go Cougs. They only have a club team. So
yeah.
But yeah.
Well, cool. So then you're now playing at the Onondaga Community College in I guess it's in Syracuse, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When did you first decide, like, hey, I actually do want to play in college? And how did Onondaga Community College like come on your radar?
Yeah. So when I first committed to college, after I graduated high school, I went to Midland University in Nebraska. Mm-hmm. Great school, but I quickly realized that the NAIA wasn't what I was itching for. I needed some more competitiveness, Mm-hmm. So I left Midland and came home and was thinking, gosh, what are my options right now? So I was on that NCSA recruiting app. Great resource if you're new to the recruiting game and everything. And my coach, he had mentioned that he went to OCC, so that opened my eyes. I mean, there was this little like JUCO. It's not NCAA, you know. But I sent the coach an email, and she liked me and I liked her, and I just kind of pulled the trigger and said, you know, this is my last chance. I don't know if you've ever watched that show, Last Chance U, but it's kind of like that, you know. Or if I want to go do something, this is what it is, you know.
I like it. I haven't watched that show, so I'll get on it. Talk to me about that app. I've never talked about that on the podcast. I've never used it. A lot of parents ask me, like, is it worth it? Talk to me about it. So it's NCSA. How's it work? How did it work for you?
Yeah, it's so you sign up and you make a profile. It teaches you kind of the steps of like how to contact coaches, how to write emails, and it gives you a list of schools. You get assigned a coach, and they kind of decide what your skill level is more or less, and they try to guide you what schools maybe be best for you. Like I said, if you're new to the recruiting game and you don't know much about it, it might be a good resource depending how much money you want to invest in it. I wish I would have just done more research on my own, and just learned it a little bit better, because I think because that's what I ended up doing anyways, is just doing the recruiting on my own. So but it's a good resource if you're starting from zero.
Yeah. How much does it cost? Do you know?
I can't remember, but it was a bit pricey.
Okay. Yeah. That's kind of the feedback I've got. So like, if you can afford it and you're on your own and you're just getting started, you know, nothing, it could be a good start, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary. You can do it all on your own.
Yeah. If you have a coach that really believes in you or has good resources, then it's better off talking to them.
Yep. That's it. Like, any relationships you can leverage, but you can also, you know, put together your highlights on YouTube. And did you do that? Like make highlight reels and email those to coaches?
Yeah, I actually, I learned how to make my own highlight videos. I spend way too much time making them fun or whatever, but I think that's huge for the recruiting game. Highlight videos.
Are they on YouTube? Could we check them out?
Yeah, my most recent one is on there. Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll link up to that when this comes out. Yeah. So just kind of keeping on that topic, like, so you can create, you know, summer 2023 Damon Wilson highlights and email that to the coach, and you can get the coach's info on the school website, right? And depending upon the level, sometimes they can't email you back, but they do see it. So like, it's sort of a one-way communication. But I think JUCO college is different, right? Like the recruiting rules are like pretty much a lot lax, if I'm.
Yeah, you still can't, there's a dead period and stuff that you can't receive anything. You can send as many emails and contact as much as you want, but there's a period. I can't remember when it was, when they can't contact you back. It's scary, you know, those months that are kind of important and you're like, no one's emailing me back, you know, but.
Right. Well, you just have to know that they're seeing it. I've asked head coaches this exact question, and like, hey, if someone emails you, are you getting it? And they're like, yeah, maybe I don't, but you should actually email all of the coaches on the roster, which is a tip, right? Like not just the head, not just the head coach, all of the coaches, and be like, hi coaches. Anyway, they see it. Cool. So then Onondaga Community College, what was the draw there for you?
I mean, if you know JUCO lacrosse, you know OCC is God. You know they have.
So hold on, I don't know JUCO. I don't know JUCO lacrosse. I don't. It's OCC. OCC's number one.
Always.
Who's number two?
So I mean, I'm biased. I love OCC, but it kind of goes OCC in the women's game. It's OCC, Hartford, and Anne Arundel and Monroe College, which. There's some Maryland, some upstate New York teams. That are just huge. On the men's side, I mean, our team, our guys, they've won. I don't even know, like 16 national championships. So it's a good lacrosse school, and I knew that if I wanted to learn lacrosse, what's better than Syracuse? You know, this is where the game was was created,
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge thing that drew me here.
Yeah. I was going to talk about that. So Onondaga, right? Like you got the ties, that's the nation. That's, where the creators game was, started. And, you got to feel like you're playing with a little bit more spirituality when you step into that. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we start our games, our home games, we play the Haudenosaunee national anthem first.
Oh, cool.
And that's just a little sneak peek, but the spirituality and the culture around it is just huge at OCC.
Yeah. Love it.
Awesome.
What do you think is one element of the game spiritually that a lot of people don't understand, or like something that you do, they like, or the way you think about the game that others like, man, I wish people knew more about this.
And it's a privilege and it's a medicine. I mean, whenever I'm having a not so great day, my stick is always there and there's always a wall somewhere that I can beat up, the game will always be there for me, and it's healed me in ways that, I can't even put into words, but it's a privilege. We get to be here and we get to play this. So
100%. It is a privilege and it is a medicine game, right? I mean, it's it's the best form of therapy that's out there.
That's right.
I love it. Cool. Awesome. So Onondaga OCC, I actually, do you know Cam Cordova by chance?
I do.
You do, yeah. So
Love
he's the other OCC goalie that I interviewed, had it on the podcast. He's great. So I've heard a little bit about it, but one of the things I wanted to ask you about JUCO lacrosse is, junior college is 2 years, right?
Yep.
So you don't have a lot of like experience with the team. You think about a normal NCAA program, maybe you get a kid for 4 or 5 years. How do you deal with sort of that, turnover?
Man, you tell me. I'm just kidding. It's really weird because last year we were one team and this year was completely different.
Right.
So it's the adapting, and like it's great practice though, like to learn an entire new team right off the bat. You don't get that third, fourth year to really mesh that chemistry. You get one season to really like form that chemistry. And for some reason, just because it is a shorter time, the bond that you build is just so much stronger. I don't know why, but it's just, you only have 2 years, so might as well make the best of it,
I could see that. Yeah. It's like, we're not here for 4 years. Like we're only here for 2. Let's make the most of this time. So it's like a more, I don't know, you put a different value on those 2 years that you do have, which I like.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Like you're either a rookie or you're the senior, right? Like,
yeah.
That's cool. What else do we need to know about JUCO lacrosse?
Man, what's cool about JUCO is you get exactly what you want from it. As much like whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. You can go to JUCO and have fun, and just play your 2 years and retire maybe with a championship or 2 under your belt. Or you can, if you want to go D1, D2, D1, you can work your butt off and you'll get noticed, because the pool is a bit smaller. So not that it's easier to rise to the top, but you're easier to get noticed a little bit,
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful for that opportunity. I wish more people would realize that,
Yeah. And where are you at in your career? You got one more year at Onondaga? And then
I'm done at OCC.
You're done at OCC. Yeah. Okay. So are you going to transfer to another
Yeah.
school, or are you hanging up the cleats?
Yeah, no, I'll never hang up my cleats.
All right.
I'm going to Queen's University down in Charlotte in North Carolina.
Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Committed. Congrats. That's awesome. How is that process for you? So like, I guess it's, in a way, you're sort of restarting your recruiting thing, same thing, like, hey, emailing coaches and sending tape. But now it's a little bit more, it's a little different because you got a little bit higher level experience. Am I right in that?
Yeah. It's just like really realizing what I want. I was lucky because I knew exactly what I wanted when I got to OCC. I wanted to transfer to a D1 program. So I really set my head to that. The best thing I did was just to like make my net as wide as possible. I sent hundreds of emails to different coaches. It was definitely terrifying though, because I didn't get committed until January
Oh, wow.
of year. Yeah. So the time was crunching in, and
Yeah.
that's scary.
How did that get a little
I
bit
ended up at a good spot.
Did that get a little bit nerve wracking for you? Like, how do you, because a lot of
Yeah.
goalies might have to go through that, right? Where like, you don't get that call on September 1st, or you don't, and all of a sudden it's like, oh man, how did you deal with that? And what tips do you have for goalies in the same scenario?
See, I had my heart set on these top 25 programs. I wanted to go to Cuse, Northwestern, like these kind of places. And my heart was set on that. And I like the second that I like opened my mind up to see that maybe there's a different place that might be better for me. That's when more opportunity came. There's a place for you somewhere. That's the doubt. There's no doubt about that. There's hundreds of schools, D1, D2, D3. So it's just about finding the right spot. Just widen your net as much as possible. Then you can weed them out later.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the right choice, right? Because, having your heart set on one school, it's Syracuse. And let's be honest, Syracuse and Northwestern and those top programs, like they're very, very challenging. Like they get maybe 1,000 goalies. No, I don't know, maybe not that much, but hundreds of goalies all going for one spot. Right. And so
exactly.
We're literally talking about the top 1%. And if you're in that, I don't want to discourage anyone from like not going for it. Like go for it, like go for your dreams. Right. But also have another option.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
go ahead.
I mean, I'm a believer. This is just my mindset when I come into the goalie set, is like when I'm on the field or when I'm doing how I believe about my goalie, I'll believe I'm the best goalie that's ever walked this face of the earth. Inside, I know that might not be true, but I know that I have to work on this and that. But it's the like corny, wholeheartedly belief that you're the best. That'll take you really far, I think. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
I want to talk about that. That's a very important point. So where does that confidence come from for you?
Because you're gonna get shot a billion times, right? And 500 million of those are going in, right? 50% is you're a good goalie, right? But if you believe you can save every single one of those shots, like you'll save more of them. I don't know. That's just how I believe it. Last year, I was always like so worried about being humble. And I think I confused being humble with not being confident, being humble, meaning like, oh, I'm not good, so I just need to work harder. And that's not the case. It's like, I know I'm good. I need to work on some stuff, but I'm just going to keep attacking what I'm really good at.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making any sense, but
well, it's a complicated topic, but like, it's something I'm so interested in. And it's kind of like, first of all, goalies, if you're going to be good, you have to have irrational confidence, meaning like
that's the perfect way to say it. Yeah.
You haven't done anything to deserve this confidence, right? Like you have no titles, you have no experience. And yet if you can walk in there thinking like, man, I am great. Like I'm going to make all of these saves. You can walk in there with that attitude, like you're going to do a lot better. So that's kind of like the first thing, right? It comes from, but then it does eventually become rational, because it's kind of like this circle where you get the saves and you start making saves and you get the experience. And now you're like, okay, like I am a good goalie. And then that kind of feeds into your mindset, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Irrational confidence. That's the perfect way to put it.
Okay. All right. We'll put it at that. And then the other thing it's kind of a related point, but it's a little bit different, is you're talking about like being humble and confident at the same time. And it's like, I kind of think of it as this, like when I go to play, when I step out onto the field, I'm the best goalie that exists, that was ever created. Exactly. I'm number one. When I go back to the practice, right, I'm number two. Now I'm fighting for that number one spot. So it's like in practice, I'm never good enough. In the game, I'm the best that ever exists.
Exactly.
That's how I think about it.
Way to put it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
I mean, when I was in high school, I had a really good conversation with Taylor Cummings. I was asking her some advice because I want to coach eventually, and she told me that I should always be a student of the game. And I think that's where that idea came, that I'm never too good to like keep learning kind of
yeah,
idea.
I love
Yeah.
that. What are you learning right now when it comes to lacrosse goalie?
What am I learning? Man, there's just so much to it. It's not just saving a ball. There's, you got to work on your angles. You got to work on how you step to the ball. Like, it's the difference between putting your hands here or here or here, here. And I'm just trying to fine tune everything right now. Get ready to go to the D1 level.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
I love that concept of, you'll always be a student of the game. It's sort of a core philosophy that I have. I've been doing this for 20 years, but I'm always like, studying other coaches, watching the game, learning new things, trying new things. And I think that's the goalies who incorporate that do the best. And not only trying new things like out there, like you mentioned, like a technical thing, like I'm gonna put my hands here, I'm gonna stand this way, but even trying new things, like leadership wise or mental game wise, and trying out something new, I think benefits your game tremendously.
Yeah.
Have you
Agreed.
well, actually, before I ask that question, so here's a question I got from Aunt. Well, I don't want to say her name actually. She goes, "Hey, coach, I'm new to the world of recruitment camps and don't know where I stand in skill level compared to other goalies or players because I live in a place where lacrosse is small and I've never gotten the chance to work with a goalie coach or other goalie coaches. I'm signed up to 2 college clinics. How do I know I won't show up and be the worst one there?" What would you say to that goalie?
My coach, he always tells us to control the controllables, like in a game, you can't control refs, you can't control opposing teams chirping at you, stuff like that. But like if I'm going to a tournament and I'm not sure where I stand, what can I control? What am I really good at? I'm good at clearing maybe, or I'm good at my low shots, or just be very explicit about what that you're good at, and just exploit that. That's what I would say to that kid.
Great. Control the controllables is a huge mental game lesson. I think a lot of times young goalies focus on all of these things that are outside of your control, and that's a losing battle. Even to a certain extent, save percentage is outside of your control because, you can like really influence it by being a great goalie, but if all of the shots are right on top of you, like you can't,
it's hard. Yeah,
you can't control that. So, looking at that as oftentimes, trying to focus on an uncontrollable, but your attitude, the effort you put in, right? Let's just focus on those two. Like those two are very, very within your control.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you for answering that young goalie's question. That was good. And the other thing I said too is to her, don't compare yourself to others. That's a losing battle, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I compared myself to Shea Dolce, she's like 6'2" and I'm 5'3", it's gonna be a losing battle every day.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and they're at a different point in their career than you are. And like, you don't know, you just can't, I don't know. You can't compare yourself to others. But yeah, Shay's really good. But you are good as well, right?
Yeah, in my own way. Yeah.
In your own way. Yeah. What is your style of goalie play? So we haven't really talked about that all that much.
Yeah.
Shorter goalie, which is great. I love the short goalies.
Yeah.
I'm a shorter goalie
Definitely
myself.
Yeah. Probably taller than me. Yeah, so I'm definitely a more explosive type of goalie. Funny enough, I don't have a super wide stance, but it's like kind of in the middle, a little bit farther apart from my shoulders. Um, yeah, I'm active outside the cage. However, I give my coach a heart attack every time I do that. But yeah, is that kind of what you mean? Yeah.
That is what I mean. Yeah. I do think that a lot of shorter goalies can excel outside the cage, like because we're really quick. Not to say that taller goalies are not, but I don't know. let's use the advantages that you have. And a lot of times we're quick, right? So one of my aspects of my game is like, if there was a ground ball outside of the crease and it made sense for me to go get it, boom, I'm out. I'm going to get it. I'm winning that possession for our team. And that's as good as a save.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. And so, all right. So not a super wide base, but a little bit. What about, do you come out and play a higher arc at certain moments, or how do you think about that?
That's one thing I can't get away with. I got to stay kind of in the middle. I play with a triangle arc. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but instead of doing like a half moon, I have a triangle that I'm kind of staying. That's how I base my 5 steps around. But it's still kind of a medium arc.
I think I've heard of it, but like, explain it for those who haven't.
Yeah. So like the bottom of my hand is the goal, right? And the goal's right here.
Yeah.
I'm stepping at this angle. Like I'm stepping here. Does that make sense?
So like you have you obviously have one point on the post, and then you're kind of going up the triangle, right? So there's another point midway up the triangle.
So
kind of like a 5-step arc, I guess.
Here. Yeah. Which is a little different than your typical like half moon arc, but I felt that by doing that, it gives me a lot better angle, lets me stay more square to the shooters. It's kind of a complicated thing to understand at first because I'm still learning it, and I've been doing it for a season now. But if you want to try something new, it's definitely something worth trying.
Awesome. All right. Well, they can hit you up if they have questions on that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. You also wrote to me that you are a part of Italy's World Championship squad. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So let's see. Right after COVID, we reached out, or me and my family, we reached out to the Italian managers and stuff, sent them some film, and we all got invited to do a clinic tryout kind of thing in Italy, and just been awesome since then. We get to travel to Europe every few months and train up there, and then we got to be in the World Cup this summer. I wasn't able to play because I got in an accident, but was able to support my team on the sideline. Still an amazing opportunity though.
Yeah, that is amazing. So you reach, because your parents have Italian heritage, and so you're eligible to play for their team, and you reached out and said, "Hey, I'm eligible. I'd love to try out." Or how'd that work?
Yeah, I just basically I sent them an email. I sent them some film. And said I would love to be a part of this. Like, and it's history from there, right?
Yeah. And then you flew out to Italy to train with the team.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, where do they train? In Rome?
They trained once in Rome. They go to Verona a lot. Milan. Okay. Milan is kind of where the home base of most of the Italian lacrosse players are. We got to go to England twice because the head coach, she's not the head coach anymore, but that was where she's from. So we got to play a lot of the university teams over there. But yeah.
That's cool. Neat. Milan. I never would have guessed. It's fashion and lacrosse up in Milan, huh?
Yeah.
That's cool. So I watched a lot of the World Championships of the women's, and it was fantastic. It was so much fun to watch. And I don't know, tell me about was there some lessons you learned from participating, and maybe not directly on the field, but with the team?
Yeah. It was just so cool to see. I mean, I always thought lacrosse was just an American kind of thing, and to see people from literally all over the world just be just as passionate about it as I was refreshing. It was really refreshing to see their take on how to play the sport. It was awesome. Definitely was hard to be on the side because I'm not used to just being a spectator. So that was a role that I had to learn. But it was just it was a different fulfillment to be able to like support my teammates. So like when they needed water, I was the first one sprinting to get it for them. Or, you know, I made all their protein shakes after every game, and I would force them to get in the ice tub and stuff like that. So being that kind of supportive was it was actually really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's a good lesson, because some goalies are going to find themselves in that backup role, you know, where you might not get to see the field, and that's pretty common. But yeah, I mean, being the best teammate that you can be, it sounds like you might have been hurt, so you're not like working on your game. But if you're in that scenario where you are, you know, work on your game as much as you can and push to be that starter, because you're only going to make the starter even better, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all that matters is the team. Like, did we win or did I win? Kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So
that team mindset. Yeah. And do you speak Italian? Like, how, or did you communicate in English with them?
if I said yes, my teammates would make fun of me for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I try. I speak a broken like Italian, Spanish kind of.
Right.
So,
a lot of the words are similar, right? In
similar,
between Spanish and especially Argentina Spanish, because that's like they speak with sort of an Italian tone, like an Italian inflection, right?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Cool. What else should we talk about? I feel like we need to hit the mental game lessons that you've learned. We've hit on some of them already, but maybe you've got a couple other lessons up your sleeve.
Yeah, I mean, this is the toughest position on the field. I mean, I could argue that maybe like midfield is hard too, because you got to run so much, and defense is hard because it's like just such a toll, and attack is like, they're all difficult, but like the mental game is just different. So whatever you can do to just be the most mentally tough person out there. I had to learn kind of the hard way this last few weeks that you're not always going to win, you know, and life isn't always fair. And that's fine. You know, that's just, you have to learn how to deal with that and just be tougher than that. Not to say that you should shy away from mental health, because we all struggle with mental health. I mean, I do, and I know a lot of student athletes do as well. But whatever you can do to just be that mentally tough person. That's why, I mean, I preach to my teammates always, like, practice hard, play easy. Like if you're practicing and you're pushing yourself, you know you can go a little harder. You know you can put some more weight on that bar. You know you can run a little faster. Like, that matters. Even though it's just 10%, it matters always. Because when you're on the field, now you're a bit tougher for it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. You mentioned something I've learned within the last couple of weeks. Are there like some L's that you took in the last couple of weeks that you had to battle through, or was that just an expression?
Yeah, we made it to the national tournament, and we ended up losing by 3 goals the final game. Definitely a heartbreaker. You could say that, you know, you can always complain, oh, the refs, so this happened, and this guy, whatever. But end of the story is we lost, you know. So you just kind of have to accept that. And it was actually kind of funny. The whole weekend we had this lucky penny thing. You know, we'd see a penny heads up, and we'd be like, it's another one. Like, oh, it's an omen. You know, like, we're gonna win. And then actually, when we got into our guest locker room, there was a penny like lodged into the ground, and we were all like, oh my god, there's a penny in our locker room. And then we lost, and then we're all like, well, what the heck were all those pennies for? Like, that's crazy. And it took me a week or two to realize it, but it wasn't about winning the game. It was about, like, and as corny as it sounds, it was about building those relationships with these teammates of mine. Like, we have family on the back of our jerseys and the back of our shirts, and man, we really are close. I mean, we go camping together. We hang out all the time, after season, after practice, before season. Like, we're always just together, and I think that's what we won. And sometimes it's not about winning a game, but it's about winning other things. So
very well said, right? Yeah. Sometimes you got to look at the bigger picture of what you've got out of the sport, have some perspective, and that helps with those L's, those little blips on this whole big picture that we're going through. So yeah, perspective. It's only a
loss if you don't learn anything.
Only a loss if you don't learn anything. So true, right? One of the sports psychs said, fail it's not failing. It's first attempt in learning. So that's kind of like I failed, but it's the first time I'm learning how to do this, right? So I learn from that and take that with me. And if you don't, like you said, then that's a loss.
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. You were awarded the Rob Edson Scholarship. Talk to me about what that is. And first of all, congratulations. And then second of all, talk to me about what that is. And I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so Rob Edson was an athletic director at OCC. He was, I never met him, but from all the stories I've heard, he was just an amazing man. And he suddenly passed away. So his family, to kind of give back to the school, they started a scholarship in his name. Basically, it's a scholarship that is awarded to an outstanding student or like someone that has a really good story. And it helps pay for the cost of school. Yeah, and I mean those it's just a really integral part of the OCC community is that scholarship. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Congratulations on that. Yeah. Helps pay the bills, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Giuliana, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, sharing your story.
Thank you.
I think you wrote to me, JUCO college, at least on the women's side, might be in jeopardy. What can people do to get JUCO college, get it going again?
Yeah, so I mean, here's a story I'll tell you. I coached a club team last summer, and these club kids, I was asking them like, "What colleges are you looking at? You know, what would you think?" And they're all saying, you know, same thing: Syracuse, Northwestern, UNC, like all these schools. And I joked and I was like, "You don't want to come to OCC?" And they all gave me that face like, "We're not going to JUCO." There's a bad reputation for it and doesn't deserve it, you know. Like I said, if you can get what you want at a JUCO, I got to the D1 level. I know people before me, they've gone to Q's from OCC, you know, on scholarship. I had a teammate last year that committed D1. On the guys' side, there's guys that went to Albany, they went to Q's, they went to, I mean, if you just read about it, and I'm sure other schools, it's the same situation. There's always a spot in these top D1 programs. If you don't think that you're ready for that yet, like JUCO is a great like little cushion. It's almost like, I don't know how this will come off, but it's like an extension of high school a little bit. You get another chance to make your point again.
Yeah.
You know?
It's also, I mean, if we think about it just from a financial standpoint too, like if you don't know what like you want to study, you're kind of undecided about where to go, like, and you go to, you know, one of these schools, you could be spending $60,000 for a year of like trying to figure out what you want in life. And like,
exactly.
JUCO, I don't know how much it costs these days, but it is not that, right? It's a fraction of the cost, and you can get quality education while trying to, you know, sort of figure out where I want my next step. So I do, you know, a cushion makes it sound like, you know, like a bad thing, but I mean, I think that can be a good thing.
It's a great opportunity. That's all it is. It's opportunity. And what's great about JUCO too is a lot of our professors, they teach at Q's, they teach at Lemoyne College, which is around the corner. So they're really high level professors. We're getting the same education for not even a fraction of the cost. So and I know that's the same for a lot of community colleges.
All right. So consider it. That's the point we're making here, right?
Exactly.
Giuliana, like I said, thank you so much for coming on the show. If folks want to learn a little bit more about you, should they go to your Instagram?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What is it?
Yeah.
Drop
it's
it.
Giuliana.Portolesi.
All right. We'll link up to that when the show comes out. If you had to leave the goalies out there with a final piece of advice, what would that be?
You're the best. Just believe it. Go out, work hard. Hard work works.
Let's go. Giuliana, thank you so much.
Thank you, Coach Damon. I appreciate being on.